I want Kareena to come on the
All About
podcast on All About Her. But I don't want people to think that, oh, I've got my sister-in-law to come on this podcast because she's my sister-in-law and she happens to be hugely famous and I'm exploiting that. I have got her because I think that she is a voice that I respect.
आपको डर लग रहा था. It must have been very scary for you. But the aftermath of an incident like that, I think, is for the whole family.
I do feel Mumbai is a safe city and I've felt very safe growing up. But it's odd for my mother, had 2 children, his home's been broken into. You know, so like you think, मेरे साथ तो नहीं होगा. They're like, अच्छा मेरे साथ भी हुआ है और आपके साथ भी हुआ है. This is something to think about. I think the best way to think about it, the best way to heal from it is what my brother said himself in his interview. My own daughter doesn't come to me for advice.
No, eventually she will. You're a very wise person.
I think so. No, definitely Sara and Ibrahim have not come to me for advice. My mother is so hardworking. Is that kind of person who sits with she does a hisab kitab in Bengali because there are 2 things she does in Bangla still. She gets angry in Bangla and she does hisab kitab in Bangla. She didn't go to college. She did graduate from school, but she perhaps wanted to study more, but she had to make that choice between working and university, college. And she chose working, but that doesn't mean that she stopped learning. Even today, she enjoys reading. The things that were relevant to my life were not crowns or thrones.
Yeah.
It was just the things that I wanted to do. And never was I told, you can't do this. Never was there that expectation ke beta pehle doodh piyega, betiyan khana parosenge aur baad mein khana khayenge. I'd like to say slightly different to my brother and my mother in that perspective, who are slightly more sensitive and emotional. They get upset. They are expressive about their feelings.
Nepo baby lappa, which I keep hearing all the time.
As long as there's baby in it somewhere, I'm happy to be referred to as an infant. My mid-40s. Any kind of baby is fine.
Hello everybody, I'm Rudrani and welcome to Spotlight Sessions podcast. My guest today is absolutely amazing. She lives lives by her own rules, she speaks her mind, she's witty and she's definitely warm and beautiful. I'm talking about, of course, Soha Ali Khan.
Are you talking about me? I was like, who's coming? Who's joining us?
I said witty.
Yeah.
I said lives life by her own rules.
Do I
and
though?
Speaks her mind. Okay. We'll find out. I have always assumed that. And speaks her mind.
Do I though?
Oh, I hope then we start today.
Let's see. Maybe we shouldn't always say what's in our minds also.
Oh, like that. But no, I do. All jokes apart.
Thank you.
I think it takes a certain kind of confidence. It takes a certain kind of security to be Soha Ali Khan. Not all women can say that they feel that way. They try to. We try. So today we are going to try, exploring that, telling the world why I said all of that before they start telling Nepo baby lappa, which I keep hearing all the time.
As long as there's baby in it somewhere, I'm happy to be referred to as an infant. My mid-40s. Any kind of baby is fine.
Yeah. What an interesting journey you've had in the industry as well, right? You started, of course, everyone knows your story. You're extremely, extremely educated, well-informed, knowledgeable. With all Oxford and London School of Economics, and then of course coming to Mumbai, and that 3 months of stay in Mumbai changed your
Are you going to ask me like a general knowledge question now? Because don't.
You know what? I'm pretty sure you'll actually manage to answer that, but no, I think our...
Let's just let people assume that everything you said is actually correct and up to date. Because the truth of the matter is, I was my most intelligent 25 years ago when I was in college. Ever since then, it's all downhill.
But intelligence is not just about the books, right?
No, it's right.
So you've learned so much along the way.
I'm really street smart, not.
But, I have seen a few places where you kind of say, I regret doing Dil Maange more and all of that. But I want to know what was going through the mind of that confident young woman, as you were at that time as well, who came to spend this 3 months in the same city as her brother, and then ended up doing something completely different.
Yeah.
What was happening there for you to make that switch?
I have always lived life instinctively and made choices that seem right to me in that moment. And sometimes with the power of hindsight, you realize that perhaps that wasn't the best decision. But I think it's important to make those mistakes. And it's important to live your life. If somebody tells you don't do this and you're not ready to absorb that, then you might rebel against that. You might still do what your heart tells you to do, and then you have to self-discover that there was a reason why you shouldn't have done that, and that's part of the learning process. I came to Mumbai actually to be a banker. I was working at Citigroup. I worked for a grand total of 15 months at Citigroup in Lower Parel. I did not enjoy it. I wanted to make my father proud, as many young girls do, and he was proud. And then I was faced with that decision of, should I go against my parents' wishes, or should I do something that I really want to do, which is act, which is something that I have consciously I've stayed away from it because my entire family is in acting, but it's something that I want to do. And so I decided to follow my heart, not tell my parents, and I signed a film, which was actually a Bengali film before Dil Mange More, which was fun. Iti Srikanta, which was nice, and it was, there was some regional media that was paying attention, but not national media. And
The subject itself was very different.
yeah, it was different. But it was a national award-winning director, and good.
You're playing
all the
a
back
national-
performance. Yes, so it was fun. I enjoyed doing it, and it went across well. I remember my mother saw it and she said, "You have potential," which is a big compliment coming from her.
Is your Bangla as good
As what?
as before?
It's as good as before.
খুব ভালো না মোটামুটি
আমি বুঝতে পারি একটু বলতে
not bad.
not bad. And then came Dil Mange More, which didn't go down as well as I expected it to, or I wanted it to, I hoped for it to. It's not that I would have not done that film. I think I would have chosen a different role. At the age of 20-something, you choose the character that you relate to, and so I chose the character of Neha, who chooses her career over
The boy.
over the boy. I didn't realize that if you choose your career of the boy, you automatically write yourself out of the role of the heroine. So I think I would have taken Aisha Take's role.
Really?
Yeah.
Even now?
Yeah, I'd be the heroine, no? I want to be the heroine.
But your choices post that haven't, in that sense, been heroine-like, if I would like to
No,
say.
because actually I do want to relate to my character.
Yeah.
Having said that, now, today in 2025, there are roles that are not typically hero-heroine. There's a lot of weightage now being given to characters and fleshing them out, especially when you're looking at series in the OTT space where you have the luxury of time over many, many episodes to explore other trajectories. In fact, people end up connecting more with those other characters sometimes than the principal hero, who tends to be like sometimes boxed by what he's allowed to do, what he's not allowed to do, his image, his character, etc. So now I think that, I can actually, today, I might have still chosen to be Neha, but then I think it was the wrong choice.
It's very interesting that you say that, because your parents were very disappointed that you chose this.
Yeah.
Right? And like I said, you were extremely diligent in your studies and you continued to do that for a while. Interesting, because at that event, it was your book launch where Saif has said that, I think my mother thought very differently, because she came 3 months here to stay with me and then she chose film. So obviously, I think in some way my mother must have blamed me in that way.
Completely.
Is exactly what that happened?
She told me before I moved, I said, I'll go to Mumbai and I'll stay with Bhai. And she said, you can stay with Bhai, but do not join films. And I was like, of course I'm not going to join films. Like, my mind and my heart are in a completely different direction. I'm going to work at Citigroup. I'm going to get my work experience. I'm going to get my work permit, and I'm going to move to London. And that was the plan. And then, of course, things changed. And it's not that I think it had to do with him, but I do think when you're influenced to the world of acting, little bit glamour, it is seductive. And that was definitely appealing for me. The paycheck was definitely appealing for me, because I realized that if I've worked for 12 months, what I've earned at Citigroup as a banker is a fraction of what I could earn in 1 month. And the basic maths of that, I was like, I think I'm going to go with this, and I'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I'll go from film to film, and I have the backing of my education. I have work experience. I think I'll be able to do something else if this doesn't work out.
Would you have done things differently if hypothetically you would have gotten the chance? Would you have taken a different route? Today, when you think over it, sometimes all of us have those moments where we sit down and think, would I have taken a different route?
No, I'm very happy. I think, if you take different routes, where I am today, I'm very happy with the decisions that I've made. And the important decisions are your choice of career. For me, my choice of husband. I really enjoy my daughter and parenting and seeing the wonderful person that she's growing up to be. The city that I live in is challenging, definitely, but it is one that I really enjoy living in, and I can't see myself, honestly, living anywhere else. So from that perspective, I really enjoy being who I am. Now, we always envy things about other people. We're like, I wish I could get that role. I wish I had her hair. I wish I had her height. I wish I had an opportunity to do these things. But do I actually want to be that person in totality? Never. I only want to be myself.
I started the interview by calling you like living by your own rules. But it's very interesting that your family members...
Ask me a long question now because I want to eat. Very long question.
Let me put in all the, like ABC questions. So there are two things, two parts to this question, and there are two anecdotes that your family members have mentioned about you. First was your mother saying that when you were a child, about 6 years old, you asked questions were like, oh, my brother is a prince, right? Like,
Yeah.
my brother is a prince, so who will he marry?
Yeah.
And who will I marry?
Yeah. I think the question was that he's a prince, so whoever he marries will become a princess and then a queen. But I'm a princess.
Yeah.
So when I marry, will I become a queen? Will that person become a king? I think very relevant questions for
Very
6-year-old.
relevant, that where I was coming with. Also questions where you said that, you know how it works for the men.
Yes.
And the lineage, because they take over the family name.
Yes.
That doesn't happen to women.
No.
So we'll go there. But you obviously, these are very innocent questions asked by a 6-year-old. Informed, I must say.
I do think that I benefited from a good, secure family background. Of course, there was privilege in terms of income security.
Sure.
There was the ability to have access to a good education. There was no distinction made between myself and my brother in terms of लड़कियां ऐसे करते हैं, लड़के ऐसे करते हैं, तो फर्क है. ऐसा कुछ नहीं था. In fact, most investment was made into my education. Tertiary education, higher education. Even when I wanted to study history, that has no correlation to getting a lucrative job by any means. So all those things, I think, just gave me the sense of that I am worth something. That my parents think that, what I want is something to be taken seriously. And that's where your sense of self-worth also comes.
What are the few things that you learned just by observing Sharmila ji? I mean, there's a lot, right? But because, I've read about her and, the life that she led and the choices that she made, whether it's in films and otherwise. All it's so inspiring.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Absolutely. I mean, my mother is so hardworking. She is that kind of person who sits with she does a hisab kitab in Bengali, because there are two things she does in Bangla still. She gets angry in Bangla and she does hisab kitab in Bangla.
Faltu vocational.
So she sits after every meal and she does the hisab kitab for acha aaj khane mein kitna lauki ka price kitna hai, save by kilo, all this she knows, I don't know. Her values have been very strongly middle class from a very young age. She has grown up in a family of 3 girls, being the eldest of 3 daughters.
Yeah.
And looked after her family for a long time and continues to do that. It continues to enjoy work and the value of earning money. At the age of 80, she enjoys an income and works hard too and enjoys getting money. Doesn't take it for granted at all and runs her household very well in a way that, we hope and aspire to do. So I think there's lots to learn from and it's not like she sat down and never said, ke aisa karna chahiye. I also have a 7-year-old now. I know if I say, Inaaya, aisa karo, vaisa karo, it'll never happen. If I'll be like, Inaaya, you should read this book, that book is not going to be read. But if she discovers it for herself through observation, if she sees that, okay, this is what my mother is doing, it must be good. I see that she doesn't lose her temper. She doesn't get angry. I'm not saying that I don't.
Sure.
But then she'll understand that it's not cool to lose your temper. You should self-regulate. So these are things that I feel like you can absorb through watching. So work ethic is definitely something that I've learned from Amma. Her curiosity. She didn't really have, she had to give up. She didn't go to college. She did graduate from school, but she perhaps wanted to study more, but she had to make that choice between working and university, college. And she chose working. But that doesn't mean that she stopped learning. Even today, she enjoys reading. Her best friends are academics, writers, lawyers, thinkers, activists. She really keeps herself engaged. So I feel like those are things also that I find inspiring, that even though you're much older now, it doesn't mean that you're not curious about the world.
Of course. Everybody asks you, how was it growing up in a palace, right?
Yeah.
They think it's as easy. But I also know they say, heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? I know a lot of the responsibilities of all that is usually taken by the male heir, which is Saif's responsibilities. But did you have questions about that when you're a young girl and around that? Because when she mentioned that anecdote on stage, I felt like you'd be someone who'd had more questions about that.
I think because the things that were relevant to my life were not crowns or thrones.
Yeah.
It was just the things that I wanted to do. And never was I told, you can't do this. Never was there that expectation ke beta pehle दूध पिएगा, बेटियां खाना परोसेंगे और बाद में खाना खाएंगे. ऐसा कहा नहीं जाता है कि oh, don't play outside because you'll become dark. Or that, girls should behave like this or wear clothes like this. None of that. I think even though my father was from an aristocratic Muslim background, he was very forward-thinking and very progressive. So I think that all of that helped me to just have that confidence to believe that anything that I wanted to do was possible, that I should just work hard at it, and that there were no kind of systemic barriers. There was nothing preventing me from thinking that, okay, this is something that I want to do. So there was No, I mean, I was aware of the law of primogeniture.
Yeah.
I'm aware of Muslim law. I'm aware now that there's a lot of things whereby you can circumvent that as well. And you can leave a will and you can say that this is what I want to go to my children in equal
You have the
fashion,
generator room.
we have you know a lot about what I have. I have what was the generator room, but luckily for a short period of time, there was a hotel that was managing Pataudi Palace. And my parents moved into the generator room, converted the generator room into what I think is actually a very nice property. And now that's mine.
When women are brought up in an environment that is secure, safe, they will go out to rule the world. Yeah, I'm as privileged. I feel like I have been brought up with my sister and my mother, who've made sure I speak my mind out and we fight it out. But I've never told that you have to shut up and stay silent.
Yeah.
That is a lot, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I still feel, and I don't want to generalize here because I know that, there's a lot of fluidity now between male and female.
Sure.
But in my experience, I feel like men try to solve problems. Women like to talk.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just want to be heard. If I'm saying, my shoulder is hurting, I don't want you to tell me, take a crocin and it'll go away, or, don't play badminton, or don't do these things. Sometimes I just want to just complain about something. It helps me to feel lighter.
Absolutely.
But my experience is that men were like, if you're telling me this, then I will solve it.
Yeah.
And
Or comment on it.
or comment on it, or et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like, and maybe that happens with women as well, but I'm just talking about in my experience. And I think that it's interesting to understand that dynamic. But women do like to talk, and women like me. I'm trying to now actually create this community whereby we can have these conversations about things that matter to us without judgment and without filters.
All about you and her.
It's all about her.
It's all about her.
So now I'm actually being on the other side of the table like you, Rudrani, and asking questions and saying it's not about me, it's about her.
I love that. I was actually just coming to that because, like I said, it's wonderful to have a podcast that's going to be all about her.
Yeah.
Where you can, a safe space where you can talk everything that you want to. But
And I really like her. I know I like him as well. I do.
like him.
I love him. And we need him.
Yeah.
But I really want to celebrate her because I feel like, especially in my mid-40s, I think what we're doing just by existing, our bodies and how we manage things is, I don't want to use the word superhuman because I don't want to put women on a pedestal because I know that a lot of women don't want to be put on a pedestal and we're real people. But I do think that we're special. Restaurant who will, when they say, oh, we'll order like a man, I was like, no, this one you bring to me.
I love
this
it.
is just for me.
Just making it sure you can order your own part.
Yeah.
Love it. We're talking about like I said, superheroes. Mm-hmm. I think you're a woman that is very appreciated for who she is. I remember, again, another anecdote, like I was saying, was about, and now you're also authentically you, which is from a very young age, which is a lot of women struggle to be with because of the society you're around, कि इतने सारे opinions होते हैं, तो आपको लगता है कि आपको बदलना चाहिए, आपका जो core identity है. For example, I'll tell you another anecdote. So I remember Saif pointing out that you went to a date before you were dating Kunal, and he said that you found the guys boring.
Yes.
And instead of messaging to your friend, you messaged
that person.
him.
Yeah.
But now next, इसके बाद जो होता है, we'll talk about her street smartness, also confidence. I would freak out.
Yeah.
But the casualness with which you said, hey, can I have your phone?
Yeah.
And then deleted it.
Yeah.
ingenious
I know, but I mean,
and confident.
no, I was sweating inside. I was sweating. I sent
You
that
have to
message.
tell us what that moment is very important for a
It
lot
was
of
one of the most, and I wish that was the worst thing I've done when it comes to text messaging, but I've done worse.
I need one more.
No, I'll tell you, but so this person, who we shall not name, I actually moved to Bombay, and Amma said, and I said, I'm very unhappy in Mumbai, I want to come back to Delhi. And she said, give it 3 months. If after 3 months, you're still feeling unhappy, then come home. But everything, you have to give it some time. So I said, fine. And I started interacting with people. And I met this young man, and we went to see a play where you turn your phones off, as you do, because that's good play ethics.
Absolutely.
And then we went out for a drink and dinner afterwards. And I went to the restroom, and I took out my phone, and I turned it on, and I messaged my friend saying, I'm so bored. And I sent it to this person.
All of us know that you have done it. At
You've done it, right? And then I've sat in that bathroom for about 3 minutes, which felt like a lifetime, saying, Ab kya karu? How will I come out? How will I face this person? Main idhar se bhag jaun? I really thought about that. I was like, I'll just go home and ghost him. And ghosting was not even a thing 20 years ago. Then I went back, and I thought, obviously, he's going to be super offended. And he was there, and he said, I've ordered a drink. What would you like? And I looked at his face, and I was like, he's not looking very offended. Maybe he's not read it. So then I just said, can I borrow your phone? So he took out his phone and he gave it to me. He was like, sure, why? He said, I'll turn it off for the play. I'll turn it on. So he turned it on. He gave it to me. I think in those days, there was no security like that. There was no codes. There was none of that. And I went to his SMSs. I saw my message, deleted it, and just said, he said, what are you checking? Are you checking the score? I remember. And I said, no, yeah. And I just gave it back to him. And I don't know what he thought of me, but it was a narrow escape.
Kareena said about how intimidated she's ever felt, when it comes to you. Your husband, of course, has always said that अंदर से बहुत डर लगता है, लेकिन जब इंग्लिश बोलना शुरू करती है सोहा, it takes a lot of time for us to understand. My problem is I don't understand what she's saying when you're writing. And even Kareena said that. I remember Kareena said that once when the first time I met, and I realized there was Soha and Saif sitting. I'm like, what will I understand this conversation? And then apparently you went and you said after some time, hi, and I said, what's the gossip? And she's like, oh, so I think
I think we'll be fine. No, she's so much more. She is definitely, she is a source of wealth of information that she has. I don't know how.
So entertaining.
If I want to know something, then at 12 o'clock, I will ask
if you want like a verified information, kuch dekha.
But she's also very good. She's very protective of her sources.
Yeah.
And she will only tell what she is willing to share. So I want to say that also. But there's so much that is so wonderful about her. That is much more than gossip. In terms of real wisdom. And I hope that I never assumed that she was just a fountain of gossip.
No.
I hope.
That was she didn't mean that.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying that.
But how did you? This is what her point of view was when she was saying, "Oh my God, I was intimidated," and I was like, "Oh my God, both of them are so well spoken." I want to know what you thought of it. Like when Kunal met you, she was like, "Bapre." After a point,
Yeah, I know. Because I was doing some articles for the Oxford magazine, and he was like, "Yeah, what are you writing?" And I was like, "I'm writing an article," and I was like, and I don't know. He was doing some magic tricks, I remember, and I was like, "Okay, sure." And he was like, "Guess the card," and I was like, "Okay, sure."
This is the kind of meet cute that you guys had.
And then I asked him, so I said, what do you do like in the evening after shooting and all? What do you do? So he said, nothing, I go home and I watch films. I was like, he's very boring. Later did I realize, okay, he's like an onion. You have to really peel the layers and you get to know him.
But from your side, when like Kareena said this, that I didn't know what to.
Yeah.
What were you thinking when you first met her? And first when you saw the blossoming of romance?
I just remember my brother calling me and we were shooting something or the other at the time, I think 99. And he said, I want you to know that my girlfriend is 2 years younger than you or something, he said. And I was like,
So safe.
Okay, great. That's great. That was my introduction. And then, of course, I mean, I think when you meet anybody who is a superstar, you have certain preconceptions about how they might be. I'm not one of those people who really judges someone until you meet them. Yeah. Because I've met enough people to know that you must really meet them face to face to have an opinion of them.
Of course.
So all I thought was, okay, this is like a very famous person. But, I think, and it takes time to make an impression of someone. I really feel like perhaps the first few times that we met, I didn't get to know her. It took time. It takes time and trust and consistency, I think, to build a relationship with some people. And I felt like it took that time between Kareena and myself. And also a few incidents that have happened over the past maybe 10, 12 years that have perhaps brought us closer together. So I think that, as I said, any relationship that has some meaning to it, it requires time and nurturing.
You said that, and then she also had mentioned, because you said this, I have to bring it up, that she saw the way you took care of your father when he was ailing. She saw the way you brought the family together, and your mother and she and your brother, I think all of them unanimously agree that you're kind of the fulcrum of the family. You're like the balance point. She was saying that if someone wants, if your mom is angry, your brother is reaching up to you.
Yeah.
Not, I wouldn't say peacemaker by choice, but you've just become.
Yeah.
And also somebody who people go to you for like really nice advice. They believe in you and trust you. To become this person.
But you have siblings?
I have. My eldest sister is a little like that.
So the two of you?
Yeah. My eldest
I'm a third child. Third children are by nature peacemakers, charming, friendly. It's genetics. It's like how there's a science behind it. There's something about the firstborn child, and they get like all the classes, all the nutrition, all the parents doing their best with them. I don't know if that happened with your sister. And then second child is different, middle child is different. Middle child sometimes falls between the cracks. So there's my elder sister. And then the youngest child is somebody who has to be noticed. Has to be like, I think, charming and diplomatic and all of those things. I think that personality is because of my order in terms of birth. And a little bit, I do feel I avoid conflict. I like peace. It takes a lot to upset me. I don't get upset. I don't get affected. I don't get that involved, to a point.
And
patience, detachment, little bit, not taking things to heart. I'd like to say slightly different to my brother and my mother in that perspective, who are slightly more sensitive and emotional. They get upset. They are expressive about their feelings. And sometimes in that heat of the moment, it's better to talk to somebody who will absorb, who will listen, who will calm down. Often Bhai will call me. Many times, there'll be back-to-back calls. And I know that he wants to say something that is perhaps upset him. But if I don't take his call, and 30 minutes later I call him back, he'll be like, I'm okay now. I was upset about something, but I've thought about it and I've calmed down. So I feel like sometimes people just need a little bit of time to calm down.
But it's wonderful to have a sibling. It's wonderful towards them. Besides the fact that you can share your family traumas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? You also have somebody like a best friend there for you.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful bond that you share with both Sabah and Saif. And I think did that also add to the person who is, because I see that bond. I see how caring, how cool he is with you. They always talk about this overbearing brother who wants to know everything that happens in his sister's life and then controlling in that manner. In a nice way. I don't think it's a little different, but there is still...
But the intentions are always good.
Yeah, there are shades of control, but the intention is always good. Yeah. But very interesting that Saif's such an anomaly in that. I love it.
He is...
Am I right?
He is. He's different, definitely. What I like about him, and there are many things, is that he gives very good advice from a perspective that I don't understand, which is a very male perspective, which I won't get from my mother, which I won't get from my sister, which I won't get from a lot of my female friends. So, for example, if I am conflicted about something with Kunal, he will give me a male perspective that will help me to understand. And some of the best advice that he's given me is that now that you're married and that you have a child, you must prioritize that family. You must prioritize your husband. Also over sometimes your children. Because a lot of people, when they get married and they have children, they forget that they're also wives and husbands. And one thing that we end up doing often at home is I've called Kunal Papa so many times when I'm talking about him, of course, to Inaya, but when I'm talking to him. And I'm like, why am I calling him Papa? He's not my Papa. So even when I talk to Inaya now, I call him Kunal. It's because I want her to understand that we all have different relationships.
Very well put. But then, I mean, they always see the sense of pride in him and celebrating you as well. I mean, you, of course, celebrate everything, whether it's his family, which is Kareena, immediate family, or what he is doing. But he has that sense of pride in what you do as well, which is very important. Yes, sibling rivalry, but... not all siblings share that kind of bond. I have realized that. I have a fantastic sister. We're very, very close. But I've realized that's not really the same.
It's true.
And I'm very lucky.
And we are lucky. And I'm saying that just because you are related to someone It's not necessary that because your family, that is a place that you trust and you feel safe and you feel secure and you can flourish. It should be like that. But not everybody's families and not everybody's siblings are like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's friends like family. As long as there's someone there for you, I think that's the most important thing. But I am fortunate that those people are my family because, like you said, when it comes to family trauma, when it comes to family memories, at the end of the day, I have very good friends. But very few people, especially, I think about after my mother often. And I think that where will those connections, those memories be if I didn't have my siblings to remember, what were things like when we were growing up, when we were in Bhopal, when we were in Pataudi, when we were in Delhi. Very few people will remember that, from the moment I was born.
So for someone who was so, I don't know, emotionally intelligent, I think from a young age, like I said, you was looking at the stories that I've heard and what I've read, and I read your book and all of that as well. You look at your conversations, you read about your life, you know that you have a lot of self-worth and self-belief, which is so important. But also making your own path. It can be very, very conflicting because your mother she is extremely one of the most celebrated, talented actors that we have. The atmosphere is so much. Your father, Mr. Khan was one of the most celebrated cricketers. Of course, a lot of stories about what a gentleman he was and what a beautiful relationship he and your mother had. Yeah, and I'm sure he will continue to have forever. As a young girl, when you look up to the way your parents are, who they are, you're observing everything and their relationship. It kind of adds to your life and how you're perceiving it. I want to know how that was for you because I feel a lot of it adds to the woman who's sitting in front of me today. Everything, like your idea of romance, your idea of self-worth, your idea of fame, glory.
It's a big question. Now I feel like you should sip your drink while I answer it because I think our parents are our primary role models. And again, I was lucky to have ones that I think really helped to shape me in the most positive way. To address firstly what you said about fame and fortune, what I saw from them, because they excelled in their chosen fields. Whether it was cricket, whether it was films, they became the best that they could be. And they wore their fame very lightly. It didn't define who they were. For me, they were Amma and Abba. They would come to my school PTA meetings. They would come to my school plays. They would be there for me as a child needs their parents to be. And there was no expectation ever to be successful. Ke aisa hi karna chahiye. The only thing my mother was very keen on was that I learn piano. And I did not enjoy playing the piano. And that's something she said, okay, it was my dream that, my child would play the piano for me. And I was like, I'm really sorry, that's not going to happen. But, you have to... I was able to tell her that. I was able to say that it's not for me. And this is your dream, so don't topo it on me. You can still learn how to play the piano. I mean, you're only 50-something at that point. And I love that. Yeah, I said, I'm going to play tennis because I enjoy playing tennis and badminton, and that's what I like. So to be able to have that connection, I think is important. To be able to stand up to your parents is also important. The issue of romance, again, I think especially for a young girl, to see their father and how that father treats their mother and how they treat the daughter will shape you forever. And he will either want to marry someone like your father or say, I definitely don't want to marry someone like my father.
Yeah.
And that's not saying that he was perfect by any means. But one thing I appreciated about him was that he was respectful. My mother keeps saying that everyone asks me, how did your husband allow you to work? And she was like, I was never allowed.
The questions like that still happen.
They still happen. How didn't you have a problem with the fact that you were an actor, which is fair enough. But then how did you, after you got married, how were you still allowed to work? And he was not that kind of person who would ever interfere in someone else's. So as a child, my father was the one who was at home. And my mother was the one who was traveling and working and earning the income. So that idea also of a working mother was something that was so natural to me. So the ability to work, the desire to work after having a child is also something that I didn't have to fight against. And I told Inaya also that I'm going to work and I'm leaving you because I enjoy my work. And one day I hope that you will also have passion in what you do, such that you will also be able to raise a family and enjoy your career. So these are all things that I've absorbed as a child growing up from my parents.
So wonderful though, the way you described it. Like I said, we all have to, and you make all valid points in saying that we all have to be very aware of the way we are bringing up our children.
Yeah.
It really impacts you.
But it's also important to be authentic and to be real.
Of course.
And that doesn't mean that you should pretend. Of course, self-regulate. So if you want to lose your temper, if you want to scream and shout, and if you want to hit, self-regulate and don't do that is my advice.
Sure.
But it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be real in front of your children. It's okay to cry in front of your children. It's okay to lose your temper in front of your children. It's as long as you acknowledge and apologize.
No, 100%. I'm going to read something that you had written. It is connected to the fact that Kareena had spoken about how you took care of your father
Yes.
when he was ailing and how you were there for the whole family. You often put out these posts on Instagram around this birthday and anniversary and stuff like that. So one of them is how I wish I could have held Inaya in his arms the way he held me when I was her age. He would have loved her and enjoyed her, and she would have learned so much from him. Things only he could teach her.
Yeah.
So some things are not meant to be, and we have no choice but to make the best of it. So wonderful. With that beautiful, the cutest baby.
I know. Yeah,
Look at that.
I'm very cute.
You are, absolutely. That has been preserved. Not all cute babies turn.
That's true. They peak at the age of 6 and then they go downhill.
You have absolutely maintained that.
I think that, it's important. How do we keep people alive? I think by talking about them, by remembering them, by celebrating them. And that's the only way that, of course, death anniversaries, birth anniversaries are times when you would organically do that.
Yeah.
But that's how we do that as a family. We keep talking about him.
How did you deal with healing and getting over the grief? How did you at that time? Where did you find that courage that I will first take care of what is necessary? Because also the post that incident, you have to take care of so many formalities.
I think the reason why we have so many formalities and so many traditions and customs is to keep us occupied, such that we have something to do. Because often when we're left with our thoughts, then those thoughts can take us into sort of a negative spiral, perhaps.
Yeah.
And that's why they keep us occupied, and people come home and you don't really get time to think.
Sure.
And then when all of that dies down, perhaps then you can truly grieve. And everyone's process is very different. I think
What was yours?
mine, we were prepared because my father was unwell. He got something called idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, and they told us first that, 5 years, and that in itself was shocking. And then when it actually ended up being about 5 months since he was diagnosed, and he went to hospital, and it was about 3 weeks. And 3 weeks is, for some people, a lot of time, because sometimes things happen in an instant, and you lose someone that you love in an instant, and you don't get time to say goodbye, you don't get time. So we had time to come to terms with this, in terms of the fact that it didn't happen in an instant. And also, something that I'm grateful for is that it was not a disease that lingered for many years. We didn't see him deteriorate over many years. So I like to look at the silver lining in that and say that those 3 weeks gave us time, really as a family, to be there. Anybody who wanted to come and visit him was able to do that. We could put our affairs in order, and we could spend time. A lot of people don't get to spend time. We're so busy in our lives. We live in different cities, and you're like, I wish I'd had that time. And I was with him for, all day for the time that he was in hospital.
You spoke about patience, and you spoke about some ridiculous questions you have been asked over the years. Huh? So I'm going to highlight some of them. You mentioned some. I remember you had also mentioned about, there's a chapter in her book about ridiculous questions.
Yeah.
Saif-Kareena, yeah, questions. Chalo, bacha kab hoga? That's a different conversation, because obviously you have to answer on behalf. You're the bua, and all of that. When you were in the middle of that storm of all that was happening, what was Soha Ali Khan really thinking? Because you, like you said, he had called you and told you, listen, I'm marrying this person, you're laughed off, whatever. And you are somebody who's, okay, it's his life, he's doing.
Yeah.
But you were constantly being asked only about that.
Yes.
Tell me, what did you do and what was going through Soha Ali Khan's mind?
No, I'm very used to this from a very young age. I think because that's why I called my book The Perils of Being Moderately Famous. Because that is the big peril. And the worry is that I get a little awkward and nervous when people ask me about Kareena. When
Even
they ask
today?
Me, yeah, even today. Because I feel like immediately then I start thinking, I start filtering. Whereas my personality is not very filtered. So I'm very happy to discuss anything about myself, but I'm cognizant of the fact that other people may not be the same way.
Fair enough.
And obviously, With my mother, I can take certain liberties. With my brother, maybe fewer, but I can take certain liberties. With Kunal, I can. But with Kareena, I would be even more. I would be even more particular not to take those liberties. So I feel like that's when and it's when people are asking me that question, I'm expecting that question. It's not like I'm not expecting that question.
So even during that time, is
Yeah, of course. Of course. It would be foolish of me not to. And I also understand. I understand what drives these questions. And even, for example, when we had this podcast, I said, I want Kareena to come on the podcast, on All About Her. But I don't want people to think that, oh, I've got my sister-in-law to come on this podcast because she's my sister-in-law and she happens to be hugely famous and I'm exploiting that. I have got her because I think that she is a voice that I respect. And we have a wonderful episode on positive parenting, which I thought that she was perfect for. But we're not starting with that episode. We're not, in fact, it's not there in the first 4 episodes because I don't want people to watch for Kareena. I want them to watch for who she represents, as a parent.
So tricky, isn't it?
It's very tricky.
It's very tricky for you. And the thing is, if you are dealing with all of this in a very calm manner, this the Soha way, I like to call it from now. How would you like to deal life with the Soha way?
But it's a fact of life. I'm saying like most people will be like, oh, would you like to take a picture with, like, there'll be some child who has no interest in who I am anyway. And the parent will be like, my child really wants a picture with you. And I'm like, no, sure, but it doesn't look like he's interested in all. That child will also come like this. And they'll be like, do you know who she is? Do you know who she is? She's Saif Ali Khan's sister. And I'll be like, great, So but I'm saying that it's all right because I have an amazing life in comparison to 99.9% of the population. I cannot complain. If that is my complaint, then I'm really tone deaf.
Of course.
And I'm definitely not tone deaf. So I'm very, very privileged.
Ridiculous questions, right? The other one that I heard someone ask.
Let me stuff my mouth with some food.
Yes, please.
When you ask me this.
Let me continue this and ask that for a while, like you said, she's been asked a lot of ridiculous questions. One of the questions that she was asked once was that शर्मिला जी को पूछा गया था ये एक पोडियम में कि आपने अपने बेटी को इतना इतने अच्छे एनवायरनमेंट सिखाया है, पढ़ाया है, लिखाया है, इतने अच्छे से बड़ा किया है, आपको क्या लगता है कैसी वाइफ बनेगी वो? I don't know if you remember this question.
No, I don't remember this.
Very calm reaction voice from Soha before her mom saying, education पर मेरे wife बनने से, because you were just about to get married or क्या लेना देना है? You said it in a like whatever matter of factly, and then your mother who wanted to be like, okay, we have to be with our faces okay in front of the audience, said like, हाँ उन्होंने किया तो था, उन्होंने सीखा था cooking, पर उनको interest नहीं है ना, अभी वो नहीं बनाती है खाना उतना.
No, but I love conversation and I love engaging. And there's no such thing as a stupid question. Like I have a 7-year-old. No, there's no such thing as a stupid question. You must answer every question to the best of your ability and use that as an opportunity to put your point of view forward. And often, I think if we walk around thinking we have all the answers, we know best, then we also won't improve as people. And I know that I'm also a work in progress. And so
have you been asked more really sexist sort of questions and you've dealt it with your Soha way?
I mean, I've spoken about a lot of questions, but I think the people now, over the last 21 years, have understood that cooking is not something that is my forte, that towing the line may not be my forte. So I can't think of anything offhand. Luckily, the choices of films also, because the last film I did was Chori 2 also, which was definitely something, to put it mildly, like a strong character.
And you were fab.
But one that is, thank you, but one that is also born out of convention and hierarchy and patriarchy and all of those things.
We have Rang De Basanti, which unanimously you will agree. But I know that film did change your life and you must have got a lot of offers and, the role was celebrated. But to be a part of film like that, they often say you cannot make a Rang De Basanti today because of its politics, because of the way it was, because of the way every single actor believed in it. And there were no egos in playing the parts that you were.
No, but we were also young. I mean, I think all of us auditioned for the parts and we're very grateful to have been selected for those parts. And apart from Amir, all of us, I think, were fairly new to cinema.
Yeah. But today when you look back at that character, and then what is the core memory that you have of...
It was the memories of just shooting that film. We shot for about a year. We traveled all over India. We shot in Punjab, we shot in Rajasthan, we shot in Delhi, we shot in Mumbai. And it was a very close-knit crew and cast. And we would wait for hours because Binod Pradhan was our cinematographer who would take his time, and rightly so, to light a shot. Sometimes many, many hours, sometimes half a day. So we would spend a lot of time together as a unit. And, friendships that, of course, we were like, we will be friends forever. And now we're like, we haven't spoken to each other in a lifetime, which I understood then happens. But I think it was also I, for one, had no idea what we were making. I understood that it's a film about patriotism. And I understood that this is, it's got fabulous music and it's got fabulous writing and it's got fabulous, it connects with people because we're wearing real clothes and we're speaking real words, like the way college students actually do. But nobody anticipated it making the money that it did and touching people the way that it did. In fact, when we were promoting the film, the producers called and said, can you return some of the money we've given you? Because we're not sure that this film is going to do well. All of us gave money back. So we were like, okay, maybe, sure. But that film became a movement. And I think for me, it was a turning point in my career and something that I feel will always be a standout point in my career.
Talking about sexism in general, I have to talk about sexism in the film industry as well. It's everywhere. I want to specify that. You have to sit in rooms and listen to your roles being reduced to nothing and just fluff and just a dance number or whatever, and we offered roles like that. How are you navigating through that period, Soha? Because obviously you were selecting still very few roles.
I've done a couple of films where I've been completely superfluous to the story.
I know.
And have played that character of just dancing and even citing dialogues that I feel like today perhaps I would not have, because I feel like they are detrimental to our journey and our progress as women. But those have been very few, I feel. I am fortunate to have the ability to say no and to stay at home.
Yeah.
And I have the economic security to do that. I understand a lot of people don't, that they have to work.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a very tough choice to have to make. You can't choose the work that you get all the time. Having said that, I would like to think that there are certain lines, certain scripts, certain roles, certain dialogues that as men and as women, we should just not be saying. Like
Absolutely.
And I mean, just this year, films have released where those dialogues are being said. So it surprises me that there are people who are not only portraying that, it surprises me that people are watching that.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that these films are not doing as well for good reason, perhaps.
Yeah. They are an integral part of our society, films and entertainment.
I feel it's a fully democratic. I feel what the audience wants is what is going to be given to them. And that's why certain kinds of films are made. And things are changing. And now when you look at OTT, which of course is a safer platform, and you can budget your films accordingly and you don't have to market them so aggressively, etc., for them to work, people can take risks. But I really feel it's driven by the viewers. It's driven by you guys at home.
I'm going to show you some pictures now. One of them being this.
10 years apart.
I love that. Right? This is... Look at you all. That's wood.
Still my right profile.
Yeah, I love it. As superstitious as this might, I would like to say, nazar na lage. But I'm saying that, I'll tell you why I'm saying that. Is a lot of people reach out and say that, oh, we love it. I see a lot of comments that say that this is the kind of relationship. And because, y'all are real. And he's always making fun of you. Not derogatory. Again, I want to say that. He's just being real and cracking a joke and saying, whatever.
It's important to have that. It's important to have banter. It's important to be able to speak your mind without being judged. And that means sometimes we don't say the most politically correct things all the time. And the idea is we're not poster people. We're not constantly trying to push a feminist movement or an agenda. We're real people and we'll speak our minds. And if he feels like, oh my God, another podcast, or why is it called All About Her? And as a man, like, what's in it for me, etc., then I fully feel like, you should call a spade a spade.
There's something that I want you to hear. Are you ready?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like when people ask you, are you ready, then...
So I know you are as surprised as I am that I'm sending you this voice note. But I can see this to in person. Alright. Since you are a Logi podcast, which goes live on Friday, I want to wish you all the very best and tell you that I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy that you saw this one through. You worked so hard on this one, and I can't wait to see this with the rest of the world. And just tell you that I was very, very proud of you.
So sweet. He's very cute. I can be persuasive. Ask Soha Ali Khan how many times.
I'm very surprised because this,
irritated him.
yeah,
I admit. So I annoyed him for sure. But thank you, Kunal, for doing
thank you,
this.
Kunal. No, it's very sweet. And I think, he is so supportive.
Yeah, that.
And a lot of people, I think, feel that, husbands are not, or that they, because you don't always see each other promoting each other.
Yeah.
And that's also real.
Yeah.
Kunal will only show up for what he believes in. And his support to me is behind the camera. And he doesn't want to pretend in front of the camera. He doesn't need to pretend in front of the camera. So he's one of the most authentic people, to the point of being embarrassing sometimes, frustrating sometimes, challenging sometimes.
Love it.
But he is authentically himself. And that's what I love about him, is because you know what you're getting. And there's no pretense. And sometimes it's a bitter pill to swallow, but there's integrity. And that's something that I'm also used to with my mother, is there's integrity, and that they don't mince words. They tell you, where you're going wrong, where you're going right. I see that with him and his parents as well.
Yeah.
Like his mother will cook a meal and wake up at 4:30 in the morning and cook for him. And if he doesn't like it, he'll be like, itna khas nahi hai. And I'm like, how can you say that? She's been up from 4:30 in the morning. He said, but when I say ki badhiya hai, then that will have some meaning.
I'll often align when it comes to parenthood. And it's okay if you're not. Right?
No, we're not. We're not. At all. Because we're products of completely different
Which is my question.
upbringings and parenting. And I was very much like, my mother was, I'm the third child, so my mother was not working as much, but she was working a lot. Sure. And, there were nurses and nannies in my upbringing.
Yeah.
Kunal's, I don't think, even knew that there's a nurse for anyone who's not a sick adult. He's like, there are nurses for children as well. Bedtime, 8 o'clock for us growing up. Kunal was like, we had no bedtime. Children fall asleep when they're tired, when they're sleepy, and they should be able to sleep anywhere. Doesn't matter. You don't have to create from 7 o'clock. The house is dark. There's like a sign that says, don't ring the bell after 7. Nobody comes to our house at 7 o'clock. He's like, I leave my bedroom and pura ghar andhera kyun hai? Inaya to apni kamre mein hai, wo so rahi hai. But why are we all being put to bed at 7 o'clock? Reading to her for like 45 minutes. He's like, I don't read. Nobody read me stories. I will tell her a story from my imagination. When I was like, read her a book. So, and it has taken me many years to understand that there's value in his style of parenting as well. I didn't think that there was in the beginning. I really didn't. I didn't. I was like, please just do it the way I want to know. I've studied this. मतलब मैं Oxford गई हूँ, मुझे पता है. अच्छा माँ क्या होता है मुझे पता है. But he's like, please. And to his credit, he let me take the lead, but he also ignored me. But not in an unkind way. In a very firm but kind way.
Yeah.
He said, please, let me be the parent that I want to be. And it requires, like they say, it takes a village. You can't just have one kind of parenting.
Yeah.
And you can't have one influence on your child. I'm saying this to you, I don't believe myself even when I'm talking to you. Because I really think that I'm the best.
But you are the best, and he also is not bad, maybe.
Yeah.
Not today, you'd say he's a good father.
I think he's an excellent father. And I think that there are many things that he can do better than me. I'm still trying to believe what I'm saying.
This clip has to be sent separately. Kunal himself.
Yeah. He will be like, for sure.
I think you're lying. I'll just say see the advantages of sending me a voice message is you get a whole one paragraph of compliments, Kunal.
That's true. See, it's true.
Kunal,
it's true.
we're going to cut this
Because of this, yeah.
So I'm going to cut this.
I must be like, what is in this salad that you're ready to eat?
Yours is like a modern family that the world would believe in. It's the whole family. It may not be perfect according to what the world thinks, but you guys are really happy and living your life. When I see a picture of all of you all together, whether it's Kareena, you, your mother, your sister, Saif, their children, all of them, Ibrahim, Sara.
There are probably only 3 pictures that exist in the world with all of us in it. I know one of them. My mother's 80th birthday. I think my mother's 79th birthday.
Yeah, I'm trying to see one of those pictures.
I'm wearing a purple dress.
Not all is not there, but यहाँ पे except for Ibrahim.
हाँ, see, सब होना बहुत
मुश्किल है, but there are a few. So I was trying to take out.
This is my mother's 80th.
This is your mother's 80th. It's still nice, no, to have those moments. It's the world is going after perfection and looking at what their idea of family is. I think this is great.
We are all members of big families in India, everybody will know when you have the whole family together, it is great is one way to describe it. It is chaotic. Somebody will have a fight with somebody. Somebody will be crying in the corner somewhere. Somebody will not like that photograph that goes on Instagram, etc., etc. So there's chaos. There's chaos to have any big family together. All family dynamics are weird and imperfect. But of course, there's beauty in capturing that moment.
And beauty in capturing also. And I was trying to see an Ibrahim picture. I did find one.
My mother's 79th birthday. Oh, this is, yeah, so this is on Rakhi. Yeah,
Cute.
where we, yes, absolutely. Absolutely, very cute. And again, we make an effort
I
to
love
come
it.
together.
We have to. And you always write these really cool things like, hum no saath hai.
Yeah, and it's not ChatGPT, guys. My captions are not ChatGPT, they're me.
And like family matters. Very, very cute, a little filmy.
Yeah.
And all of that. But what I also see, like I said, he's very open about the way, he also cracks jokes about how like you have so many children. Plus I was cracking those jokes about how like
I called him the quad father.
I love that. Yeah. But they have managed to navigate through all of that. And I think that is the lesson that I take from all of it.
I think that it's like, we have these discussions all the time on how to be real. And I think especially as actors being role models, now we all know our teachers and our parents should be our role models, but it's a fact that actors and celebrities are role models today. We may like it or we may not like it, but people do look to actors and copy them in many ways, which is why I feel like we have to be more responsible. We are held to a higher standard sometimes. We may want to be real, but we should choose the brands that we endorse carefully, posts that we put out there. And I think it's very important to be real and imperfect often, because I think people connect with messy, people connect with what is real. So when they see a picture of Kareena, for example, which is a Diwali picture where Jay is a blur and Tim is doing some Batman move and Bhai is talking about something. That's the reality of it. That manicured, curated image is also nice, but that is just a snapshot. That's not the whole world. That's definitely not reality.
What happened to Saif in that house was obviously terrifying. There is no doubt. I want to ask you, aapko kya lag raha tha? Of course, aapko dar lag raha tha. It must have been very scary for you. But the aftermath of an incident like that, I think, is for the whole family. You kind of like, it's kind of scarring, I feel. And then you, of course, try to heal from it. I see how they decided to not show the children anymore, not deck it anymore. And it's so understandable. How was it for you, Soha? Because, of course, it's bothersome. How did you deal with that?
I don't know how many people know this, but my own house was broken into the year my father died, in 2011. And Kunal was there and he caught the thief.
Oh my
and the thief was convicted. So I just thought it was strange. I do feel Mumbai is a safe city and I've felt very safe growing up, but it's odd for my mother to have had 2 children, homes been broken into. So like you think, mere saath to nahi hoga. Then like, acha mere saath bhi hua hai aur aapke saath bhi hua hai. So this is something to think about. I think the best way to think about it, the best way to heal from it is what my brother said himself in his interview, which is, it was very unfortunate that it happened, terrifying that it happened, but when you think about it, it was the best possible outcome. He was grievously injured, but nothing that he didn't heal 100% from. Of course, the trauma of it is something that is not visible. Those scars are not visible, and that will take time, and everyone will process that differently. I think it was not just, of course, his family to me is my brother, but the whole city sits up and takes notice when something happens to a public figure. And societies all over were saying, how do we improve security? We need CCTV cameras. We need to improve our sense of security. We need to block all the weak points and vulnerable points. So that's something that made everyone sit up and take notice. I really feel that abhi aisa hua hai, so hopefully nothing else will happen for some time. Like you feel like it's not going to happen to us again.
So that's scary for children, no. Like that part, I was just like, yeah, so scary for children. You think like, how will they understand that?
Yeah.
I hope they do, right?
Yeah, of course. And processing things is very different, I think, for adults and for children.
100%. But they said, like they keep saying, you are the one who gives advice to everybody. You all have been asked questions on nepotism throughout your life, and Sara Ibrahim have been, and they'll continue to do. Do they come to you for advice sometimes as well? Because I don't know. Do they?
No.
Have they ever?
My own daughter doesn't come to me for advice.
Maybe eventually she will. You're a very wise person.
I think so. But no, and I think that, no, definitely Sara and Ibrahim have not come to me for advice.
Because, the amount of trolling that they have also gone through.
Yeah.
It's with Zeb, you and everything.
Yes, absolutely. What we're there for is not giving advice, but support. And I think,
Good way to say.
we're there all the time and for each other, so whether it was what happened with Pai, whether if it's a film doesn't go the way you anticipate it to, we've all experienced ups and downs in our lives. All of us, whether you're a film person or not. Failure is a very important part of life. And a very important learning as well. So I think all you can do is just be there for each other, and that's why these moments, these photographs, and the days that, precede that photograph or after that photograph are so precious. To just remind each other that at the end of the day, we're not products that you're selling. We're people, and we connect as people.
Absolutely. I'd like to end it by asking this to you. You have a podcast that is starting. Like I said, you already saw Kunal giving the sweetest wish for Soha. We all incredibly are cheering for you. I definitely am, Soha. What is it that you want your audience to kind of take over from the conversations? What are you hoping to bring alive through getting these wonderful women, things that you have gone through, things that they have gone through, and to probably in a way make the society a little bit more aware, a little bit more better?
Yes, I think the idea is to create a community and have conversations that are about issues that matter to us as women. But those conversations include men and are for men as well, because I really do believe in walking together.
Of course.
And, so there are my favorites, wonderful episode that we had on oncology, one that we had on IVF and surrogacy and adoption. Because something that I've noticed is that women, for example, put themselves through so much trying to get pregnant. And one thing that you should ask yourself is, do you want to be pregnant or do you want to be a mother? And they're two very different questions, because there are ways of becoming a mother without being pregnant or without getting pregnant in the conventional way. And there are things that modern medicine allow us, empower us now. So that and many other things we have explored. Uncomfortable subjects sometimes, whether it's suicide prevention, whether it's domestic abuse, to more conventional issues like nutrition and physical fitness. But everything that affects us and that makes us like this very unique, complex thing called a woman.
Please listen to our podcast and to her podcast.
Yes, we need to have space for all of us to speak.
And I love it. Like you said, I'm cheering for you. All
Thank
the very
you,
best. Please do more of this. We love you, and I will always admire you. Thank you
so much. Thank you, Rudrani.
Thank you.